Good day, folks, or should I say good evening? Very misleading this weather is. It's the Two Maesters, and we are back, baby. Oh yeah, we are back to talk about Secret Invasion, episode 1, 2, and 3. It's a midway point because there's 6 episodes, right, Josh?
Yes, there'll be 6 episodes, yes.
Nice, good to know. How are you doing this evening?
Good. Being able to enjoy some of the British summer as it's still here before the rain kicks in, but there are rumours that it will hit up to like 45 degrees by the end of August, so...
45?
45, yeah.
Oh my god. Right, that's right, folks. Sit your ass down and listen, because let's talk Secret Invasion. Now, I'll just start off saying I've stopped watching the Marvel movies since about Thor... Love and Thunder?
Yeah, Love and Thunder, yes.
Yeah, and kind of ones in between that. I hadn't seen a lot of them. I kind of got a bit fatigued. So I kind of went into Secret Invasion with a bit of skepticism. So let's start off with, what is the story of Secret Invasion, Josh?
So Secret Invasion is basically one of the comic books that Marvel writ that the Skrull basically invade Earth and replace key people. So like in the original comics, it's like not just key figures like you see in the TV series, but also superheroes as well. So I think, because they've done this multiple times in different comic book settings,
right.
Like they've replaced Captain America, they've replaced Nick Fury, they've replaced key members in the Avengers. And
you replaced Nick Fury, but is this in a parallel universe? Yeah. Okay.
So, and I think the way that it works with the Skrull is that their powers is that they not only can turn into someone and because like there's actually looking like someone, but there's also sounding like them and also having the memories that they had as well.
Right.
So therefore you can literally basically go undercover like perfectly and be able to pretend that you are this person for so long.
How do they get the mind of someone? Because I saw it in the first episode. They go to like the Skrull rebel base and they see some humans that they've captured and they put them in these machines where they're like these crystals going into there. Is that how they take their memories?
No, I think they do it via their powers. So like in the TV show, you can see that they touch them and they're able to get their memories. And like them being in the zap bit is to keep them in stasis.
Oh, of course, because they're like, take his face, now take his mind.
Yeah. Okay. And I think the way that the comic books is that the Skrull have like this Skrull queen. So Skrull, the main enemy of the Skrull is the Kree.
Right.
And for those who have watched like Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, you see the Kree there, especially Ronan the Accuser. He's Kree. You also see the Kree if you've watched like the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s TV series, or if you've watched like Captain Marvel as well. The Kree are major components there. Okay. And this actually, Captain Marvel, the film, like is a prelude to actually Secret Invasion.
I haven't seen Captain Marvel yet.
So for those who haven't seen it, what happens is that the Skrull are fleeing the Kree because the Kree have taken over their homeworld. I think they've destroyed it actually, and Skrullos is their actual homeworld. So they're basically refugees all over the planet, all over the galaxy, possibly the universe. So what happens is that they come to Earth trying to like flee the Kree. So then at the end of like Captain Marvel, so I don't want to provide too many spoilers.
Yeah, it's okay, man.
Captain Marvel actually wants to find them a new planet. Yeah, they want to find them a new homeworld for them to live on. But then she kind of like can't find anything. So that's what you kind of see like in the first and second episode of Secret Invasion is that they're basically like, you know what, we're tired of waiting for Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. We're tired of waiting for Nick Fury to find us this perfect world when this could be our perfect world right here. Like, we can live here happily. And as you learn from like spoilers here from episode 1, that they don't get affected by radiation at all. So they can live.
They love it. They love chilling around it.
So they can live in like irradiated zones, and also if there's a nuclear holocaust, they're fine to live there.
Yeah.
And I think the difference between like the Skrull which they're trying to turn towards, like in Secret Invasion, is that fans were upset that the Skrull, you're having them like some innocent refugees, but in like the comics, they're just as bad as the Kree.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's what they want Secret Invasion to do, to try and like trying to turn them back to like, no, they're not just refugees who are hiding. No, And that's why in like episode 2, spoiler here, that I'm not sure what she's in charge of again. On one of the Skree Council, no, the Skrull Council basically says we didn't end up like becoming refugees because we didn't want to fight. It was because we loved fighting so much. And the fact that they ended up, so it wasn't, and I think that's the big secret that Talos hasn't told Nick Fury, is that his people aren't like non-violent refugees who are like, we were attacked and we had to leave our home. No, we fought a war and lost. A war that we actually wanted to fight but ended up losing. Which is very different from being, we were attacked by this powerful force and we've been on the run for years. No, we fought a war with this group of aliens, the Kree, and we ended up losing. That's why we are refugees. So then that's like a different concept, because like if they weren't reluctant to fight and they chose to go to war, is very different from you were reluctant, you were invaded, and then had to then leave your homes. And I think that's what fans actually really want, because that's what the Skrull actually are.
But they want out so that, you know, they're not the innocent picture, but like a mixed picture of it, that these are people who actually just were unlucky, lost the war.
Yeah.
Also the fact that they're not all evil and they're not all good.
Yeah, like similar to like the Kree as well. Like they're not all evil, they're not all good, but they are a militaristic empire. Like the Kree have like the high evolutionary, not the high evolutionary. What do they have again? They have like, it's in the Captain Marvel movie where they have like a robot, like an AI which rules the Kree. While the Skrull actually have a queen, they have a monarch who actually rules them in the comics.
Okay.
And I think they might try and bring her into like the larger MCU. And I think it's really, really clever. Like the whole concept of the Skrull is that you don't know if someone's a Skrull until you like full on like start questioning them and then go further and back or cut off their finger. Yeah.
I've got to admit that some of the characters in this are very cool. Like Sonya Fallsworth, I guess he's the MI6 person. That's great. Like I love how Olivia Colman is playing her as well, because they've actually factored in Olivia Colman's, like, you know, she usually plays like lovey-dovey sort of characters.
Yeah, nice person.
But in this, she's kind of like, oh, it's a bit like really friendly and polite, but also like she cuts off and tortures people's fingers and stuff. Yeah, you don't want to cross her. Very cool. And I like the guy who plays Talos, as you go, Ben Mendelsohn. He's a great actor. He's been in so many.
He was really good in Rogue One.
In Rogue One as well. But a man of your talents, a farmer. Yeah, he's great Australian actor. I love his accent as well. Very cool. And of course, Samuel Jackson, you know.
Yeah.
I think he somewhat steals the show in this, but there are some really good actors in it. Like Olivia Colman's good, Ben Mendelsohn. Emilia Clarke was pretty good, although after watching episode 3, by the way, we are going to be talking about spoilers in this.
Yes.
Damn, is she actually dead? Holy cow. Oh my God. Yeah, no, wow. I guess there's the thing I find about Secret Invasion is quite impactful, actually. Like episode 1, Agent Maria Hill dies. Yeah. I mean, if I'm honest, like, sorry to all the sentimental people out there, but she's always just been like a side character.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel the same as well.
Oh, rude. We're gonna get ourselves in trouble for that.
But you know, it'd be funny if she was an actual Skrull from the beginning. But then she would have turned back when she died.
Yeah, she could have been. I feel like something's going to come up. Like, she's not actually, because you didn't, mind you saw her body flown to the UK, but you didn't actually see it. They always do this in movies. Like, someone gets shot really bad, like Commissioner Gordon gets shot in The Dark Knight, and you're like, oh, he's dead. And everyone pretends he's dead, and then the last minute he's like, surprise!
Yes, yeah.
So it could be that she comes back, but she could also actually really be dead. But this is cool, because I'm liking this in Marvel movies, that they're actually starting to take a turn of, like, there is points at which a superhero will die, and they're dead forever. They're not just going to turn back time and bring him back and stuff. Like with Endgame, love how Tony Stark died. Big spoiler there, but I don't care.
If they haven't watched it now, they will not watch it at all.
Yeah. I do like how they're making it a bit more Game of Thronesy, because what bored me about the Marvel Universe eventually was it's the same formula, like superhero starting grassroots, big villain comes on, brings him to his knees, and then by the end of the movie, he always defeats the villain, no matter what. So she always defeats the villain, no matter what. There's just no... It's too formulaic, you know?
Yeah.
I was getting a bit bored of that, but seeing Secret Invasion, I mean, it's probably going to wrap up, have a happy ending, or maybe it won't, but love how it's going, very emotionally gripping, like how Samuel Jackson's bit with Samuel Jackson. I always see with Samuel Jackson. Nick Fury isn't really at his top shape, like a lot of people say, shambling around. He's looking old. And he's he's lost favor with the American government as well. Like, you know, when he has that argument with, what's his name? Colonel Rhodey. Yeah. I was like, damn, like that actually basically. Yeah,
and I think the issue is like, if you watch like the end of Avengers 2, when he's basically, and then, no, I think Winter Soldier, when you see him Winter Soldier, and he's basically like, the US government realizes, wait a second, so the actual group that Nick Fury's been in charge of has been Hydra for how long, and he didn't know anything about it, and like I think he started to like lose his mojo there, because like before it was like, oh, if we need anything done, Nick Fury can help us, but it's like, wait a second, is he actually that good if he didn't realize he was working for Hydra this whole time?
It's it feels a bit like Picard in a way, because now the Romulans are pissed off about Picard, in that you made us these promises, you said the Federation would come and sort us out, and they didn't. You're a man of like promises but empty actions. Same with like Nick Fury, very parallel vibes between Star Trek and Secret Invasion with the Skrull and Nick Fury. I find that quite interesting, and you kind of feel sorry for him because he's trying to do the best, and he's in love with one as well.
And I think another issue is that he made the situation worse because he trained them. He trained them in methods of spying, on combat, on infiltration, to basically clean up the Earth's messes. Like, imagine if like Picard was like, you know what, while we wait for the Federation to come in, you can do some Federation work and we can train you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is why I kind of Gravik, as much as, you know, he's obviously a very bad baddie, you could sort of empathize or sort of understand his point of view. Been waiting too long for Nick Fury to deliver on his promises, and they've been doing stuff for Nick Fury in that time. You just feel used like a tool, and you know, you got your civilization. Yeah. I've just got to say though, I love it how he's got has he got like a Brummie accent or something, or Midlands accent or something? Yeah. Like, I don't know how I feel about these, you know, when they get like a English bad guy and bring them in, because like the accent's just a little too strong, like. But I guess that makes sense with the Skrull, because they just impersonate someone, so that accent isn't actually theirs. It's who they take. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and I also think like with the whole thing with the Skrull is the fact that it's kind of like they've seen how bad humanity hates each other, and also how bad humanity hates outsiders.
Yeah,
and like to Gravik, it's like they're never going to accept us, so. Really, I should just be caring about us. And it's like, even if you think about that, like how many times has humanity actually had that same way of thinking? Like,
oh yeah, I see a lot of parallels with this, and like, you know, the refugee crisis has been going on for the past few years. So it's kind of like, what do you call it? A spirit of the times. This show, I feel like, so you can sort of empathize with some of the characters in it.
And just quickly, it kind of links to, did you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
No, I heard it was crap.
It's pretty good, but I think...
Oh, fair enough.
What it does is that it takes from the times. So basically what happens, the whole premises of it is that humanity came together during the blip, because you had loads of jobs that needed to be filled because no one had them. So many of the countries were like, you know what? Our refugee population, you can take jobs. We're going to invite people from Africa. You can take the jobs that we need right here. And there was all this coming together of humanity that we need to come together to survive, because we've gone down from like 7.5 billion down to 3.75 billion because of the blip. So then things had been implemented to make the world a better place. And like there was space for everyone. People would have like there was mansions, thousands of mansions that people could move into. There wasn't a housing crisis in the world. So when the blip,
are you trying to say Thanos was right?
When the blip was like undone, what the governments did was like, you know what, we're going to go back to everything before. Anyone who owns property that belonged to someone who had disappeared with the blip, that property now has to go back to the person who disappeared in the blips. You'd have people being kicked out of their houses who've been there for 5 years, but being told no, because the actual real occupant who disappeared because a mad titan got rid of them, it's actually theirs. Like, imagine like you have a house, a car, a PC, and even possibly like money in your account, and they're like, well, no, and a job, and they're like, nah, the person for each of those has come back. You need to now pack it and go back where you came from.
That's an interesting
I think that was the interesting dynamic,
yeah.
and I think if they worked on it better and they focused on that more, I think it would have been a better TV series. But yeah, it kind of links that into like in Secret Invasion, where you have another, because like the main villain in that was like, she was like, well, we came together and we want the world to go back to where it was during the blip, because like we had lives, but now everything's been taken away from us. When you really should have been like, find a leeway, but governments were like, you know what, kick them out and just bring back all the people who were taken away with the blip. And you can kind of see it like in Gravik's character, that it's like, I want a home world. And I think the issue for me with Gravik is that you know, when you have like leaders who are like, you know what, I'll do whatever it is to bring about wherever it takes. So like the fact that, especially in episode 2, when they found out that the Skrull had told Olivia Colman's character, like he told them, like giving them information, the fact that he just killed him, and he's happy to kill other Skrulls to achieve this aim. So it kind of gets me thinking that, does he actually care? Is he doing it because he cares for his people, or that's the task that he's focused on? Like, you know, you have like villains who actually care, like, I'm doing this for my people, and then villains who are like, you know what, I'm just doing this because this is the task that needs to be done, and they have like no emotions tied to it, so they're willing to kill everyone around them to achieve this aim, because that's the aim they're focusing on.
Was it victory by any means? Like, don't judge me on my methods, judge me on my results. Yeah, it does seem like that kind of character. It'd be good to see a bit more backstory of him, because you only see him in that flashback scene in episode 2, you know, when he's a kid. So it'd be good to see a bit more of character development, because this show does seem a bit more about emotional impact there. And also Samuel L. Jackson's badass lines. So I need to know. So we kind of know the backstory to the Skrull, which is good. Thank you for giving that. Should we expect any like Avenger cameos in this, do you reckon? Apart from Colonel Rhodes, I guess, but he's not really part of the Avengers.
We also had like Martin Freeman, but yeah, he's not
part
of
the
the Avengers in episode 1.
Yeah.
I think potentially. So one of the things that the Skrull were able to do is that the Skrull and the Kree, funnily enough, are like major Fantastic Four villains. Right, they were first like introduced with the Fantastic Four, but because Marvel hasn't had access to the Fantastic Four until recently, they've been like putting the Skrull to the side and like bringing in like side characters. Like they brought in Ronin the Accuser, they brought in the Skrulls now. But then one of the things that, this is a major spoiler for all those. So are you fine with this spoiler, Morgan? I
mean, it's not like we haven't been talking to someone already.
So this is a spoiler for episodes to come. So if you don't want to listen, please mute this part or skip this part. Like in the lab in episode 2, and you see like or even see on the computer when I forgot what her name is, Emilia Clarke's character looks at the computer, and you see the different like elements and different like things that are going into the project. Yeah. So you've got Extremis, which is the heat, the superpower like thing that was in Iron Man 4 that then caused people to explode.
Oh, right, okay.
You've also got, I think, something from the other films as well. So what they're trying to do is create a Super Skrull. And there actually is a Super Skrull in the comics, But what he does is he takes the powers of the Fantastic Four. So, you know, the Thing's powers that he's strong and has hard skin. You've got Mr. Fantastic. He's very elastic. You've got also Johnny, who can go on fire. And then you've got
Invisible Woman. Believe it or not, can turn invisible.
And then create like force fields. I think she can partly read minds, if I'm correct.
Right.
But then, so because they haven't got any Fantastic Four to develop this character, they're then using like different elements of the MCU universe that they've said before to then make this Super Skrull. And that's why Gravik said like, when the guy asked, what are you going to do if they bring in the Avengers? He said, I'm working on the solution for them. And that's what the Super Skrull is that
he can take superpowers. He can basically copy their superpowers.
No. He will have like the 4 main like Fantastic Four powers.
Ah, right, okay.
But then not get them from the Fantastic Four. He'll get them from like the different elements within the MCU. So then he will be the trump card that the Skrull will have if they bring like a superpowered individual.
It'd be funny though, because if they got, Tony Stark, it's just money. You just suddenly get money out of nowhere. I suppose you get all the memories and engineering knowledge of Tony Stark, but he doesn't really have superpowers though, does he?
Yeah. And the question is like, even with the Avengers, it's like, who can you really call with the Avengers? Like, Doctor Strange is on his own thing. Thor isn't even on. I don't think he's on Earth anymore, especially after Love and Thunder.
With some emotional stuff,
and he's also got a child to look after as well. He's not really game. You've got Black Panther has sadly passed away, and then Shuri's taken up the mantle, but hasn't joined the Avengers. You've got Falcon.
What's the Hulk doing?
The Hulk is on a mission to be. I think another issue is like the Hulk is more of a scientist than a fighter, and now that he's combined like the Hulk and oh my days, what's his actual name again? Bruce Banner and the Hulk have now combined, and now they're this one person. He's more reluctant to fight.
Hulk smart.
Yeah, and I think like they're gonna have to revamp the Avengers to come up with a team because half the team is dead, being Captain America, Scarlett Johansson's character, Black Widow, and Iron Man are dead. Then Thor is in the wind. Captain Marvel, we don't know where she's gone. And it's like...
Well, what about the Marvels? What's that show, The Marvels? Or movie?
Oh, no.
Will that have something about
I think that will kind of like link into where Captain Marvel's been.
Okay.
And I think that's why some people are saying the Deadpool film that's coming out will be critical for Marvel, because the question is that film gonna like break open the Marvel universe finally, and you get the X-Men in the MCU with like Wolverine and Deadpool entering into the MCU. So therefore you can then bring in Blade, you can then bring in like the Fantastic Four, you can then bring other people in, and I think that's the key thing is that even if they did have Avengers on Earth, like who's going to come save the day? It's like who is the major trump card who can save the day? Because like Hulk would be.
What about the Falcon? Where's he new Captain America?
Yeah, he is the new Captain America. But then it's like, so it's the Falcon, well, Captain America, and also Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
you would then probably try and bring in the new Hawkeye, who's the woman who was in the Hawkeye TV series, and also bring in the other Hawkeye. They also would bring in like
how many Hawkeyes are there?
There's 2 of them. It's because you haven't watched the TV series.
Yeah, no.
They'll bring in like Shang-Chi. He will be brought in because I think he's like an honorary like Avengers member now because they're trying to refill their ranks. But the question is like, are they strong enough to take down a Skrull with all the powers of the Fantastic Four? Which is very debatable. True.
Well, we'll see. It remains to be seen if that will happen in this series. But yeah, episode 3 does definitely end with Gravik talking about the Super Skrull. Okay, so in terms of some of the characters in Secret Invasion, who would you say is your favourite other than Nick Fury?
I'd have to say Talos. I love his accent. I just don't know why. Like the way
Australian man.
The way that he talks, and also the character as well. Like the fact that he lied to Nick Fury, well, he didn't really lie. He just withheld the truth from Nick Fury that millions of Skrull had actually come to Earth during the period. And I think that scene where they're on the train discussing with each other.
Yeah, that argument was cool, actually.
Because he was like, what do you want us to do? Just wait for you to come back. It was 5 years. And to your point, you're like, yeah, it was 5 years. Like, what do you want them to do? Like, to just be scattered around the galaxy, being constantly hunted by the Kree, potentially further dispersing as a group, losing their culture potentially. And then for him, it's like, well, there's a place here. And I think he saw that, well, if I can work with Nick Fury, I can work with other humans on this planet. Maybe I can convince my people to then try and like to integrate with humanity. But then you also had Nick Fury's side of like, humanity hates humanity.
Yeah.
All they need is just an alien to unite humanity and turn that hate somewhere else. And people have said like, what unites humanity isn't love. It's hate. Like you just see World War II. What was it? It wasn't love. It was hate.
Yeah.
And it's like, what would get, and like the fact that I did mention, I think it was the last episode we did like on Star Trek, that there's a treaty within like the Soviet Union and Russia and other countries that if an alien threat did invade Earth during the height of the Cold War, they would all team up to attack said alien threat. And it's like, all you need, like you even said, we need to unite humanity is an alien threat, and all of humanity would be like, you know what? I might not like you, but I hate those aliens a lot more.
Boom, you've got one. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you can see why that, you know, just like the realism of it, you could really understand how that could be an issue, especially that, you know, they're shape-shifting, because like, there'd be witch hunts. There'd be people like not trusting anyone. How could you anyway?
Yeah, like
1 million. That
like
could be
the McCarthy witch hunts. Like I was reading up in Hollywood, people like movie studios would be like, oh, you know what? These actors want more money. Let's say that they're communists, so they get arrested, and then we don't have to pay them. Like imagine like. People would do that. Oh, I've hired you for a job. And say, oh, he's a Skrull. He must be a Skrull.
Call you out a Skrull. I would know for a fact you're not a Skrull, and I'd just do it anyway.
Yeah, people will do that. People will do that. Like, as you said, with witch hunts, they'll be like, you know what? That woman, I don't like her. She's a bit weird. She must be a witch. I'm going to tell them, and then she'll be burned at the stake. And potentially, I could steal her stuff. Like, how many people would be like, you know what? That person's a Skrull. And the issue you have is that people, they'll think, oh, we have to torture them before we find they're a Skrull. And some governments will be like, well, we can't really turn around and say that they're not after all we've done. So we'll just say that they are, even though they're not. Yeah,
it's easier to excuse it in that way. Yeah, good point. I do like the idea of this. Where would you say is the inspirations for this are from?
I think they do take a bit from like, have you ever watched like the TV series Spooks on BBC?
Yeah, a little bit back in the day.
I think they've taken some elements of that, like the impact of like anyone can possibly die. Because I remember watching Spooks, you would like fall in love with this character. Like one of them, like main people in the group in season 1 died after the 3rd episode.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. And I think that's one of the things people liked about Spooks was that apart from like the main guy who was in charge of like MI5.
What was his name? Harry or something?
I think it was Harry, yeah. And like his like special advisor, everyone was fair game. And I think that's one of the things they're trying to implement with Secret Invasion, and also the rating as well. Secret Invasion, I think in the US is a 16.
A 16, really?
Yeah.
That's just because of Nick Fury swearing, you know, he's so badass.
And also like the violence when Olivia Colman's character cuts off his finger. Yeah, the fact they actually show it would have to then also bump it up to a 16, 15, that it can't be a PG 13.
Yeah, I noticed there's definitely a darker tone going on with this than the usual Marvel fare.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with like, I mean, you know, as someone's daughter dying so soon, she's a big actor just to be killed off like that as well. So it kind of surprised me. Like, oh, they're doing something different. They've changed.
Mental health is really important to us at Pick Up the Mic, and we love to share resources that can support your mental health. And that's why we are so glad to have today's sponsor. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get you started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live appointments when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't right for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom-picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at an affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/pickupthemic. I've also linked them down below in the description. So again, that's betterhelp.com/pickupthemic, MIC, and start your journey today.
So, yeah, I think there's some elements from like even older media, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like that's a really old, like black and white movie from back in the day of like this idea of just aliens coming down and just basically taking the form of humans and like killing off that said human. So they become them, and you can't tell.
Yeah.
I think this is a very like tried and tested like theme in Hollywood. This idea that people seem like who they are on the surface, but beneath there's something else going on. I do see some inspiration in that for sure. And then the whole idea of like World War III and doom and mutually assured destruction. That there's secretly red flag operations, like not all is as it seems. The whole idea that, for example, disguising yourself as an American terrorist in Russia to basically simulate and pretend that this is what was done and encourage that mutually assured destruction.
Or the fact that I think the very funny thing is also the fact that it's filmed in London. I think it was... It's near. What is the building called again? Oh my name! My sister told me.
MI6 building, but they went across Lambeth Bridge the other day, and that's so close to where I work. And I was like, damn!
And I was like, and funny enough, because I've watched the Flash film, they also did the filming there as well for the Flash. And it seems like Hollywood is like we've run out of spaces in New York to film. Let's go to London, because like even the Batman film, the one with Robert Pattinson, that's filmed in London as well.
And a bit in Glasgow, actually,
So I feel like Hollywood is like, you know what, we filmed everywhere in New York. Let's film in London and also sometimes pretend it's New York. Like I think even some of the places which were technically Moscow, I think some of them might have been Germany and some parts have been like London.
I was thinking, when did they film Secret Invasion? Because I mean, obviously they certainly didn't film it like a couple months ago.
Yeah, but, especially with the content.
But, even like COVID and stuff, also the political situations. Like this is pretty big that they're filming in Moscow.
Yeah, and I think the another thing that people are saying, the fact that if COVID had happened before Endgame or before Infinity Wars, they probably wouldn't have used a blip.
If COVID happened.
Because
why? Because of the fact that so many people
had died because of COVID. They would have been like, "Oh, that's in poor taste."
So what you're saying is Thanos introduced COVID?
No, I'm not. I'm
you
not
heard
saying
it from
that.
us, guys. This is not a conspiracy theory. It was Thanos all along.
But I think one of the things that I have liked about Secret Invasion is that the actual like character. You actually get to see characters. So it's based on like you see the plot, but then you also get to see strong characters throughout the show. You see like even with like Don Cheadle's character, Colonel Rhodey, you see his character, even though he's only there for like maybe 15 minutes, you get to see his character and it's memorable throughout the whole series. You see like Nick Fury's character, you see Talos's character, and also their relationship between like Talos, and also it's funny like when Nick Fury says, how does he say it again? He says Talos, the way like he says, that always cracks me up.
And then Talos is like, I can't remember what Talos was saying, but like Nick Fury's like, no, I've seen some pretty beautiful Skrull. And that certainly ain't you, buddy.
And then later on, you're like, now I see why he said that line.
But I find that this is a concept I was thinking of. Like, say if you're in love with a Skrull, aren't you just in love with who they're... unless you're actually in love with the goblin, like...
But then you could kind of say the same thing with, like, Scarlet Witch being in love with Vision. like Vision's technically is a robot.
But then at least he's not going to change, well, unless he can, I suppose if he is a robot, he can change form, can't he? Oh, yeah, he can.
Yeah, because he can make himself look more human.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, because like my sister was like, "Oh my days, that's nasty, that's disgusting." Like the diseases that probably could pass through. Like, why would you? She's like, they're not even human. But I was like, yeah, but you were fine with with Scarlet, with the Scarlet Witch dating a technically a robot, a man-made robot.
What would happen if a Skrull and a human had a baby together? Because what would, assuming that's possible, what would they look like? You know,
I think that would be a weird thing, because like. There is a comic book like World War Hulk where Hulk has like kids. And I think in like She-Hulk, I haven't watched She-Hulk, but one of the things I did hear is that you see the Hulk's kids.
Really? Okay.
And I think he's got two in World War Hulk. He has two sons, but I think in She-Hulk you only see one or maybe two. But then that's weird because they're literally green. Because you know he had that whole time period where he stayed as the Hulk after like Avengers 2.
So you're trying to say, did he conceive as that?
Yeah, and I'm not sure that they can turn human because I don't think they are human because people are like the Hulk and Bruce Banner are two separate people. So they've probably taken the Hulk's DNA, not Bruce Banner's DNA.
Wow.
So technically they're stuck being green.
Maybe the kids can turn into humans as well. I don't know. This is one of those weird fan theories.
And I think the issue is that this is, I think, the weird thing that if you have to go really into like Star Wars lore, not Star Wars, Marvel lore. So like in Marvel, you've got like variant species. So deviant species. So Thanos was a Titan.
Yeah.
And he was a deviant of the Titans. And he is related to the Eternals. So I think he's actually cousins to Angelina Jolie's character in Eternals.
Right, okay.
And he is a deviant, so those are people genetically deformed beings who are most of them are considered evil.
Oh yeah, the name.
So what happens is that humans have deviants, but I've forgotten what the human deviants say. So they said every race has a form of deviance, and the Skrull are the deviants of a specific race.
Okay.
But they wiped out that race, so they're a race of deviants.
Okay.
And that's why I think that's why they have like the shape-shifting ability and stuff like that. And that's why if you look at like their chin and faces, it kind of looks a bit like Thanos.
Yeah, they do have
Thanos. Because Thanos is a deviant and so are the Skrull.
Yeah.
And like, so I think another issue is like if you go deep into the lore, you know, you've got the X-Men with mutants. So then Marvel also introduced like Inhumans, who are like human beings who have like Kree DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that they were talking about, like in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. It's the main focus is on Inhumans because Inhumans have like powers, but it's based on the fact that the Kree wanted to make like a super soldier army. So they injected human beings with Kree DNA, which resulted in them gaining powers.
Captain Marvel like part Kree? I remember reading somewhere. What's the story?
Yeah, so the issue is that big issue is like Captain Marvel in the original comics was that it was her interaction with Captain Marvel, which was Jude Law's character, is how she got her powers. But because the director was like, oh, that's kind of wrong that a woman got her powers from a man, and it kind of makes it look really bad. So they were like, you know what? She got her powers from actual Captain Marvel, who was a woman Kree scientist, and she got her powers from the Tesseract.
Oh, right. Okay.
So really, she actually gets her powers from, I think, from Captain Marvel, who actually she ends up marrying. But in the MCU, they wanted to change that, so she actually gets it from the Tesseract.
And it's actually Marvel, actual Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's her husband in the comics, and also the scientist in the Captain Marvel films. So she calls herself Captain Marvel based off Captain Marvel.
Okay, fair. I suppose had a bit of a twang to it. Okay, interesting. Okay, so going back to the episodes, how would you rate the first 3 episodes so far? Which one was your favourite and why?
I would say episode 2, because one of the things that we did see is like the relationship with Talos and Nick Fury, and actually how frayed it is. And I think one of the key scenes of the whole series so far is that discussion on the train, and the fact that both of them, you could technically say, are correct and both of them are right. But then you could also say both of them are wrong. Like, Talos should not have brought millions of Skrull to a planet of people who already hate each other. And the fact that he didn't tell Nick Fury at all. Mm-hmm. And that is literally a violent faction of the Kree, not the Kree, of the Skrull. And there could be millions of them. And like, he doesn't know how far that's gone. But then you also could say that Nick Fury's wrong, is that what do you expect him to do? Like, Nick Fury had gone for 5 years. He never knew he was coming back. He can't just sit there waiting for somebody else to find a solution. He actually tried to find a solution of his own.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I think for us as fans, we're like, of course they're going to bring Nick Fury back. But if you think about it, like, Talos never knew Nick Fury would be coming back. And then even when he came back, remember, he's like, you went up to the moon. You're like, I can't be on Earth anymore. I have to go back into the stars. That bit was hilarious. Like, when he was doing that whole motion, I think. And the fact that, that was episode 1 when he shoots the Skrull, and he's like, I could have done it. I could have handled it. Yeah. And I think that also kind of like frayed the relationship, because I think he's like, there's only an X amount of us left. So I don't want to have to kill a Skrull unless I have to. Yeah, fair. He's got that philosophy. Well, he also is a failed general as well. So he's probably got like a inferiority complex for that. Yeah. And you know, I think it's the 3rd episode, him and Gravik are sitting down at the restaurant. Yeah. And I don't know what Gravik says at the end. It's like, oh, whilst I'm there with your daughter. And he just like, just picks up a knife and stabs his hand. Like, I was like, damn. Like, that was badass move. Very badass. Yeah. I love the sort of the cinematography of that scene, of everyone in the table around him just standing up and looking like Gravik. Gravik suddenly. That was really cool. Also, the end of episode 1, where Gravik turned into every person that Nick Fury had seen for the past few days, one after the other. And it's just like messing with Nick Fury's head, like, how long has he known and been following me? Because I remember just before the bomb goes off, he turns into like the old man at the pub. He turns into the woman that was kissing. He turns into the little girl that he saw as well. So it's like throughout his whole time in Moscow, Gravik has been watching him throughout the whole time. I completely missed that bit, but that's pretty cool. Yeah, and I think that really put him off. Was like, so literally he's been following me my whole time here. Yeah, very good, like, shock and awe episode, especially with the ending with, like, you know, Agent Maria Hill. Like, oh goodness me. Also, just one quick point, like, I don't know why they did it, but Talos is actually a bad guy in the comics, and he's like, and the reason he's a bad guy is like, he's the only Skrull that can't. He's one of the only Skrulls that can't change into other people. He has like a rare condition that prevents him from turning into to being able to shapeshift. So it kind of like brought on a complex, like he has to do more. Yeah. So then he makes him like a really evil character. But I don't know why they. Maybe because just to fit the storyline for like Captain Marvel, they actually made Gravik actually exist in the lore. I'm not sure. I can check, and then we can like probably do when we finish off the season. Try and talk about if he is actually in the comic book lore. But yeah, it's just weird to me that Talos was like a full-on villain and was like the only Skrull that couldn't be a shapeshifter because of like he had a genetic. I think he had like a genetic disorder which didn't allow him to turn into others, so he overcompensated for being overly cruel. Imagine you had as a Skrull, you had a genetic condition that means you get stuck on one person. Like, you become like Donald Trump, and you're just stuck with that that orange tan line. You can't even lose the tan line like your whole life. God, that'd be horrible. We should start a charity for them. Okay, yeah, that is quite cool that they've changed his character, but then perhaps this could be like his transition into something evil. That Gravik is just a stepping stone character at the end of this season. It could be that would actually becomes the main villain. That would be amazing. You see the arguments he has with Nick Fury, and they're so justified. Sometimes the best villains are the ones with like the arguments you can empathize with the most. Thanos was good because, you know, he kind of picked up on our angst about climate change and overpopulation and stuff. Like, just wipe out half the people, perfectly balanced as all things should be. I mean, that's so wrong.
By no means endorsing.
And then
that.
also means that in time they'll have to then do it again, and then again, and then again, and then again. So technically, it's not solving the issue. Yeah, if you think about it, because then he's just delaying the inevitable.
He is inevitable. Exactly. There you go. You just played into his argument. Well done. So what do you think we've got next in the next few episodes? What do you think's coming?
Based off what you said, like, it would be interesting if they, like, what if, like, Gravik captures Talos and then does an experiment that prevents Talos from changing anymore?
It could be
and that could then lead on to Talos being the character that you see in the comic books, and that he becomes the main villain at the end of the season. That would be amazing. Because, like, to your point, it's like, if it's done correctly, villains that were good people with good intentions, but you see them change because of society, are some of the greatest villains that people love in cinema and on television.
Like Two-Face and like the Dark Knight series.
And like even like the Joaquin Phoenix in The Joker, people loved it because it was like he didn't just become this person. It was that society, what happened in society was pushing him towards it.
It's so relatable, wasn't it? It's almost too relatable because they talk about how, like, you know, mental health services are underfunded and stuff, and I'm like, too real. It's like when we're talking about Star Trek history, and like at some point in the 21st century there was a third world war, and it's like, did you just get too soon. It could be that Talos becomes the main villain, but we'll see. But there are the warning signs that his daughter's dead at his hand. That could drive him a bit. You get really pissed trying to take up Gravik. Gravik could capture him, torture him, do that thing to him so he can't change.
Yeah.
And then who knows, maybe if Nick Fury just kills Gravik in like a bad way.
Or potentially, I think what could happen is that Nick Fury... Another thing I like about the show is that people keep telling Nick, oh, maybe you need some extra help. It's like, no, I can do this. I can do this. What if we find out in the series he can't? Or he tries to, but then... What if he, trying to take out Gravik, takes out maybe thousands of Skrull, and that's what turns Talos, because he's like, you know what, I've had enough, and then decides to like leave Earth with the remainder, and then decides to go back to warring again, to then fight and claim a planet, instead of actually waiting to find a specific one that's good for them.
Exactly, and you've seen him, you know, when he was fighting that other Skrull and Nick Fury shot the other one, maybe he's got a big issue with, you know, humans killing Skrull. And on top of that, you know, when the rest of human population finds out, which they're starting to, by the looks of it, their reaction's probably going to be extremely negative and very xenophobic to the Skrull. So that might push Talos into a corner where it's like, well, they're against us now, so I have to protect my people. I can't fail them again.
Yeah, you can just see what happened in X-Men, like with especially with like Magneto having to going through the Holocaust and then being mistreated because he's like a mutant. Yeah. And like mutants are still human beings. Like, what would they do to a complete alien species?
Yeah, it's true. And you see that in a lot of science fiction, like District 9. Yeah. That was a good look into it, because obviously it's showing a lot of parallels with like the situation in South Africa, but also kind of thinking, what if aliens had come, but what if they're not as, you know, they're advanced technology, but we can't really communicate with them, and they're, you know, how would we house them on our planet and stuff like that? That's another concept of, rather than the technologically superior aliens coming to wipe us out, or technologically superior aliens coming to give us a helping hand into the Galactic Federation, this is one of like, what if aliens came to our planet as refugees? How would we treat them? Because look how we treat them today. Yeah, exactly.
I think another thing that I did like about District 9 is that they didn't make the aliens like, you know, you've got like aliens like the Kree that look almost like humans, but they're just blue.
Yeah,
so it's like people can like get away with, oh well, they're just like us, but they're blue. But like in District 9, it's like, no,
they're actually alien.
They don't look like us at all. So that then brings in more of like, as you said, the xenophobia, the fear as well.
Yeah, I do appreciate, like, in these science fiction universes, when a costume department or CGI department, how they like to, goes to a good extent of making aliens look alien.
Yes.
Because it's just so, you know, it's the easy escape to do space elves. You know, like all aliens look humanoid. They've all got 2 legs. They all somehow can speak English eventually, 2 eyes. Or they're like space elves. Like there's just copied in so many universes, like Warhammer. You got the Eldar. You've got the in Star Trek the
Vulcan and Romulan.
Yeah, just basically.
I think Star Wars has a grasp on that. Like, you've got like the Ithorians, who are the ones that like have the the neck like that, and they speak from either side of their long neck that sticks out, and they look. And I think Star Wars is probably. Sure. And I think like if you look at Star Wars, like aliens, they have loads that don't look humanoid whatsoever. Like you've got ones that it seems like their head is upside down. Like their jaw is literally, their eyes are there and their jaw's up there. And like they've got a beard that sticks down like that. And I think
maybe I'm struggling to remember.
And I think that's one of the things I think Star Wars has, is that they've got more like alien looking aliens.
They do, but the way they use them is they're always like side characters. There's very rarely like main.
I think that they're stuck on the thing that no one wants to see, like something that's full on alien. They have to at least resemble humans to a degree for people to be interested.
Exactly. This is the thing I was thinking about with Secret Invasion. Yep. So Gravik, you very rarely see him in a Skrull form because it's difficult to act with all that makeup and stuff on. You can't. There's not really many facial expressions. So there's a bit of a difficulty when it comes to making these science fiction shows of aliens, because like the more makeup you put on and the more expressionless they look, so the less of an impact they may have, depending on what you want to do.
Yeah,
and then they have to, like, why doesn't Gravik turn into a Skrull? You know, when he's at that table with all the other Skrull that have taken over world leaders, he just remains in his human form the whole time. Also, why are they speaking English to each other? No, he speaks in the Skrull language briefly at that table. It's like, even when they're at the rebel base, like all these rebels and stuff, like there's no humans. And they're all still in their human form. It's like, in the first episode, Emilia Clarke, well, okay, love how we call her Gaia. Emilia Clarke, she'll always be Emilia Clarke. They welcome that new Skrull who comes in.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a safe space. In here, we are real forms. And then, like, you don't see her real form until she dies at the end. Or, like, there's a lot of, like, you have to give a lot of pardons for this because there's reasons why they need to show people's faces. But I would like to see them speaking at least Skrull to each other in their human forms when, non-real humans aren't around. That would be nice.
Yeah, but I think it just goes back to like American stereotypes, is that they don't like subtitles for long periods of time. So I think what they could have done is like this cop out that you have, you can have two versions. So if you don't, you can dub it in the Skrull language if you want to, and see the scene with the Skrull language. No, that's something they could have done.
They could have done.
Which was, and I 100% agree. When they're in the Skrull council meeting, like it's just them. It's like if they shouldn't be fearing if someone's listening or watching, because they literally turn into Skrulls. So literally, they should be speaking the language, unless they were like, they'll probably come up with saying something. They agreed only to speak Skrull in specific times until they reclaim they have their own planet type thing.
I mean, it could be, but they should say that on the show. They should say, And then when Talos is talking to like, what's his name, Gravik. They're surrounded by and when all the Skrull just speak in Skrull, like another thing as well. What did I pick up? I'm very good at pointing out bad things. It's a bad habit. It's gone past me now. Well, okay. Going back to Samuel L. Jackson saying, "I know some good-looking Skrull, and you certainly ain't one of them." They all look, no offense to them, but they all look the same in their like Skrull form. They all like goblin-esque creatures. There's very little that defines them. And that's something I appreciate in science fiction universes where they show diversity in alien races. So I'd say Mass Effect, not so much. They couldn't really do it. They only showed and they kind of tried to make a fallback position in that humans were known for their diversity, whilst other alien races were very single genetic codey.
Yeah, but then I think what they say is like, to us, what's the difference between one crocodile and another?
True.
And I think especially the fact that, especially if we're talking about Mass Effect, the Solarians are basically like amphibians.
Yeah.
So apart from the different color of frogs, one of the like differences that an average person can spot. So I think that's what they
that's a
try
good
and
point,
use.
yeah.
Like, because we're not aliens, we don't know the difference between them.
But I guess with like Asari, at least you get some Asari who are like, different colours. But that's
Or even
big
Krogan.
cop-out.
Krogans are in different colours, but they still have the same like core features. That I think it's just at times it's like, it's simple. We don't want to break the game engine having so many different things.
Yeah.
They're aliens. Everyone knows they're aliens. Just have them in different colours.
Yeah, they're all the same. Yeah, fair. I guess, and then just production value must be so much to like try and introduce something like that on top of everything else they have to do. Okay, so some other final notes. I love the intro theme, and that's really cool.
That's all AI.
That's all AI generated.
Yeah,
really?
yeah. My brother was telling me like that's some fans don't like it because it's all AI, but I was like, I don't understand why they're annoyed with it. Like, I think they're saying, because then it brings about the fact that you've got like AI can then replace like artists, and then potentially further on like replace actors and script writers. But I was like it's just the one thing. Like if it advances further, then it's something to say. But it's like you could kind of tell it was like AI, because like if you like watch on Instagram when people have got like AI pictures that constantly move and change, it kind of looked a bit like that.
Yeah, a little bit, sort of blurriness in the shapes. Like I keep seeing all these videos of like The Rock eating a plate of spaghetti, and it's like it's horrifying. Or like Donald Trump and Joe Biden eating spaghetti. It's always spaghetti that they get this AI to do it. This AI, if it's developing a sentience, it must be like, what the hell's wrong with humans? They just want me to show celebrities eating spaghetti. Yeah. But that's cool. I didn't know that was AI. That's an interesting little one. I guess our concept artists would be getting worried as well, because a lot of the cool stuff in these Marvel TV shows and movies is those intro scenes. I always find are quite cool. They have they either make it colourful and pretty or realistic with the actual actors. Yeah. Any final thoughts from you on episode 1 to 3 and beyond?
I would say that it's a really good start to a series. I kind of wish like there was more, and it's like keeping with the like Winter Soldier vibes of like a spy-esque type stuff. And I think the main thing for me is like how much of like this series will have an impact on the greater like Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like this could like have, especially if they're able to develop the Super Skrull, and also if the Skrull then become like this huge force to be reckoned with, then that's like a major thing. But the question is like, are they just going to do it like, the Skrulls have died down and they've agreed to friendly terms with humanity, and you're like, so then when are you actually going to get to the big stage of like showing us what the true potential of the Skrull is? So the question is like, what is the impact of this show? Is this going to be like, and how will it affect with the rest of the Marvel universe?
Well, yeah, because it'll be interesting to see is, they've said that they don't want to bring in Avengers because they don't want them to get copied. But then how do we know that's not happened yet? And you say it has happened. So I think there'll be a twist at the end. They might defeat Gravik, and maybe Talos might become the arch villain. But then, I feel like the Avengers are going to come in at some point, and you're going to find out, people are like, oh, crap, he's a Skrull. Oh, I didn't know. Man, didn't read the comic books. Oh, crap. Yeah, I think we will see something like that. I'm quite excited for that. Just before we finish, I really got to stop doing this, but looking at Rotten Tomatoes, what do you think the critic average tomato meter score is for
the first three? Because I did see like the IMDb score, which was like 73.
Yeah, I've got to admit, this critics are quite harsh. I've come into this with a skeptical mind. I literally was watching it with a flatmate. I'm like, I bet this is going to be crap. And I'm actually, I'm committed now. I like it, yeah. What would you say? It's so far just rated cumulatively.
If I was to give it my rating, I would say 79%. But I think, as you said, they're probably going to be more critical. They'll probably give it like maybe 69.
So the average tomato meter score is 61%, which is pretty harsh, but they're still certified as fresh, so they don't think it's rotten. So that's good. The average audience score is 71%. Which even still, I mean, I'd say this is, I wouldn't say this is like iconic, long-lasting, cinema, but I'd say it's still pretty good.
But the thing for me is, like, I never get, like, I think it's just, like, the rating culture. Like, how can you rate a TV series with just, like, sometimes they start rating after the first episode. I'm like,
yeah.
But it's like a season. It's like rating a film after the first 3 scenes. It's like, how can you rate a film by its first 3 scenes? You can only rate it by the complete finished product.
Yeah, some things are slow burners as well. Like Andor's quite a slow burner.
Yeah.
And it probably also depends on how they release episodes. Like Andor, they release the first 3 episodes all at once. If you watch them one by one, they'd probably have a lot of viewers drop out after episode 2. Yeah. So that probably has something they factor into critics' score. And also, let's be honest, critics' score can be so wrong sometimes. Like The Last Jedi, we're both very vocal about that in our opinions about it, so it's well known. Okay, well, I don't want to say any more spoilers. We possibly have ruined the next 3 episodes
for
of
everyone,
Secret Invasion, but thank you for stopping by, audience, to listen to us talk about Secret Invasion. We'll be back in maybe 1-2 weeks, whenever the final episode's aired, to give our conclusion of it all and quote some badass Samuel Jackson lines. That I will. If you love us very much, audience members, please do remember to click the notifications button and give us a like and a follow and maybe a comment, in which case I will get back to you with a personalized message. And we are happy to say that we've officially got, over 1,000 subscribers as part of the Pick Up the Mic network. That's some big deal, you know. We can't do any of this without you. So I just want to say I love you. Yeah, and leave it there. Thanks, folks. Please listen to Pick Up the Mic network. Please give us a follow, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you, folks.